Aloha, this is State Senator Sam Slom with the Minority Report. Today, the response to the governor's State of the State. Well, it was a very interesting speech by Governor Abercrombie, full of nostalgia and full of, hopeful signs, but it was kind of short on content and detail. The whole idea of the governor's speech was to address our financial problems, and I will give the governor credit for at least admitting that, number one, not only do we have an $850 million deficit over the next 2 fiscal periods, but that the deficit is actually worse than that when you take into consideration the operating budget. However, after the governor said that we all must sacrifice and that we're going to do certain things, the things that we're going to do really did not do much to erase the debt. And as a matter of fact, the governor talked about restoring a number of operating budget expenditures and programs, and he talked about other things that would raise the question of, are we going to have even more expenditures, more debt, and if so, where's the money going to come from? At one point, the governor in his speech talked about the difficulty in guaranteeing or locating additional federal funds. In another part of the same speech, he said that the lieutenant governor would be in charge of getting federal funds, and they were very optimistic that they could get them for some purposes. Some of the things that the governor did say that we certainly can agree with, and that is we have to do something to the state employees retirement system. The ERS, which is underfunded by at least $7, maybe $8 billion at the present time, needs to be restructured. He talked about the change in benefits, but he didn't talk about changing benefits for new employees or reducing some of the most generous benefits of any state in the union. That we have to do. And while he mentioned the employees' health care system, he didn't talk about that either, or the state's massive subsidy of every public employee's health care costs, not only when they're active, but also when they're retired. He also talked about new programs coming out of the governor's office, but again, was short on talking about how they're going to be funded. What did he talk about specifically in terms of funding? An increase in the alcohol tax, an increase or a new fee for those of us who drink sodas. And he talked about transient accommodations tax and the timeshare to be treated as a hotel room. That's surely going to be very controversial. He also talked about redistribution of existing TAT, transient accommodation tax monies, more to go for the purposes that he thought would be important in terms of cultural and other activities which were very vague and undefined. Small business, the backbone of our economy, got very short shrift. He mentioned that there would be a reduction in the long permit process, but we've been talking about that for 20, 30 years now, and nothing has yet happened. He also talked about rehabilitating vacant government buildings. My idea, sell those government buildings to private sources. Don't worry about the expense and don't try to grow government more. His emphasis also was on jobs, but the jobs that he outlined were private, public sector, private supported jobs. We need to improve our business climate and our economy overall. So I guess in summary we can say that while the speech was hopeful and while he talked about a number of different areas, he didn't mention when his budget is going to come down to the legislature. Traditionally it would have already been here and we'd be discussing it. His people that he appointed initially talked about mid-March. That would be too late. We need to get to work on that now. He has to meet priorities just like the legislative branch and the judicial branch as well. It's going to be an interesting session, and we're going to give you more of an update as we go along on bills and issues that come about. But I guess the bottom line and the summary today is we really don't have a way of downsizing government, reducing government spending, and keeping more money in the pockets of Hawaii's working men and women. Until we talk to you again, this is Sam Slom, representing the Senate minority, and this is today's Senate Report. Aloha.